Alright, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Since I'm stuck in isolation, I figured I'd upload some more editing videos. So today we have these two images here. Let's jump into Lightroom and I'll show you how I edited them. So we'll start off with this image here. Not the most technically perfect image, but it's a good demonstration of what you can do in Lightroom. So we'll be going from this image here. So this is the start with no edits on it. So what we'll do to start off with is I like to scroll down to the bottom and enable profile corrections. This was shot on a 16mm lens, so that will just get rid of some of the distortion, a bit of vignetting. Now we'll come up and I'll just adjust the levels of the image here just to make it, adjust the level of the image just to make it a bit flatter, get that horizon right. You don't have to do this first, but I just like to do it, otherwise if the image is crooked and distorted, it just annoys me the whole time I'm editing. And we can come back to that later if we want as well. So first off, what I'm going to do is warm this image up a little bit. We'll bring it up to around 10,000. We'll leave exposure and contrast for now. What I will do is drop the highlights right down and I'll bring the shadows up. Now I don't want to go too far with these. If I bring those right up, it's going to make the image look too much like a horrible sort of HDR. So we'll bring that down probably around there, around the 50. Now for the whites and blacks, what I like to do is just hit J on the keyboard, and what that's going to do is it's going to bring this mask up here and show us where we're starting to take it too far. So we'll just bring that up just until we start to see the whites are clipping there, so it's just showing that. I might even go a little bit less, about there. With the black, same thing, we'll just drop that down until we start to see the blue appear. You can see it appearing in the tree there. So that's just showing us where our pure blacks are. So I like to bring it until we can just sort of see it a little bit like that. I'll hit J again, that'll get rid of those, that mask there. Now, I think we'll leave the rest alone for now apart from vibrance. We'll just bump the vibrance up probably quite a bit. Let's take it up to 40. Close enough. That's looking good now. You can still see the sky here is looking quite overexposed. So we'll just grab a little gradient here. Drop that down. About there. Now we'll just lower the exposure of the sky a little bit. As you can see, that's starting to bring back the detail in some of the clouds. I don't want to go too far with this, I just want to be able to get a bit of cloud detail. That's looking pretty good. And I might also add a bit of warmth in there. So I'll just lift that temperature up. 40 is looking good to me there. And we'll just bring the tint up a little bit, add a bit of magenta. And there we go. Cool, so that's already looking pretty good. So that's where we started. That's where we're at so far. We can still do a little bit more. With that gradient filter, I noticed there's a star that's just appeared in the sky, which we can see now. So that must have just been a bright star there. So we'll just grab this here. One click and it's gone. And you can use that as well for dust if there's any dust, but I don't see any on there with this image. Cool. Now what I think I might do is grab the radial filter here. I'm just centering that off where the sun looks like it's going to be rising from. So let's make a nice big one like that. Once again, I'm probably going to punch up the warmth. I might even add a bit of colour here. So let's go about there. Cool, and we'll leave it there for now. And now I know that looks horrible. You can see it's that's spreading out onto the beach. But what we'll do is we'll drop down here to the range mask. We'll click the range mask. And we'll select luminance. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to apply this, the settings for this radial filter here. We're going to apply that only to the highlights of the image. So if I click this here and drag it up, as you'll see, it's coming off the beach. Further up I go, and off the dark spots, because what that is doing is it's removing it from the darker spots and only applying it to the brighter spots. If you want to see where it's applying, you can click Show Luminance Mask, and there we are, that red patch there, that's where it's going to be applying. So if I drop that back down, you'll see it's everywhere. Bring it back up, and it's just going more and more to the highlights. Smoothness, we can adjust that too. And that's just how smooth it transitions between those highlights and shadows as well. I might actually make this a bit larger. Take off the luminance mask and we'll see how that looks. Now, once that's done, if you think the colour is still too much, you can come back into the colour here and you can just drop the saturation down or bring it up. So I think I like it about there. And that's looking good. What we might do is use that same technique though with the luminance mask, and we'll apply some dodging and burning, probably just burning actually. Sorry, just dodging. So we'll bring the exposure right up on this. Once again, this is going to look horrible to start off with. I'm just going to paint it over these areas here. And over here as well. Cool, and what we'll do is we'll come back down to the range mask, luminance. Once again, I only want this to apply to the highlights. So we'll bring this right up, smoothing it off a little bit. And now I can adjust the exposure just to bring it to where I like it. That's looking good. Now one thing that I'm not liking is this section of the hill over here. So let's get rid of this. This section of the hill over here I think is a bit bright and a little bit distracting. So what I'm going to do is just drop another radial filter here, reset the exposure, and I might just drop the exposure of that, the overall exposure, just a little bit, and that will just make that a little bit less distracting. Also, I think this path here could be quite nice if that was brightened a little bit, so we'll get the brush, bring the exposure up just a tiny bit. A little bit more so we can see where we're painting. Bring that up, bring that around there. Go luminance mask with this again. And about there. Alright, so we'll jump into the second image now. So this is the final version of it here. Edited to a slightly different style. With this one I've tried to get a nice yellow highlight, but then also added a few blues to it and a few blues in the shadows as well, just to get the complementary colours going. And I've also clipped the blacks a little, so I crushed the blacks a little bit. So you can see that the blacks aren't exactly black either, and it's just added to the overall style of the image. So this here's what we started with, and that's the final image. So with this image here, once again, we'll drop down to the bottom, enable the profile corrections, come back up to the top and just level the image off. So let's click the angle one here, click the starting point, hold it down, drag across the horizon. And sorry, I've done that completely wrong. This image is a little bit hard to level because the horizon is actually quite hazy, and so it's a little bit difficult to see where the actual horizon is. But that there looks like it's worked well. At the same time, I'm going to crop it down. Just lock the aspect ratio, drag that down, and I think I want to make it so that the horizon line's on the top third line there, and that will have these islands on the intersecting points of the third lines there too. So let's just bring it about there. So sorry, it's on the horizon's on that third line, the islands are sort of on that third line there, so that should make it look nice. There we go. Now we'll start off with the temperature. I'm going to warm the whole image up a little bit, probably around there, 8,000. And we'll skip the exposure contrast for now. Highlights, let's drop them right down, and shadows, bring them not right up, but up to maybe about 50. And we'll do some local adjustments of the shadows a little bit later on. For the whites and blacks, once again, hit J, bring the whites up. We can see it just around the sun there. Blacks, just around the trees in the bottom right again. Okay, so we're going to drop a little gradient down here. I probably don't want to bring the exposure down too much on this, maybe just a touch. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add some blue to it, which is going to bring a bit of blue back into the sky. Sorry about the banging in the background if you can hear it. It sounds like the next door neighbour's building something. Put a bit of blue back into the sky, but then I'll add a radial filter just in the centre here, and we'll just warm that centre bit up a bit more. But I did just want a bit more blue in the sky. There we go. I'll get a radial filter, go out from the sun, warm that up. I'm actually going to make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Because I do want that colour to be reflecting in the highlights of the water here as well. So we'll come down to our range mask, go to luminance, bring that up just so it's mainly affecting the highlights. Smooth it off. Once again, show luminance mask if you want to see where it's affecting. Okay, that looks good. There we go. Now I'm also going to just lighten up some of the area down here. Just using a brush here, raising the exposure a little bit. I'll put a bump of contrast into it, about 10. And then once again, let's go to the range mask, to the luminance. This one I just want to apply to the shadows, like so. Cool. Now that we can get a bit of feel for the image, what I'm going to do is bring the vibrance up a little bit. And it was quite a hazy day, so I'm going to try a bit of dehaze as well. Bring it to about 10. Okay. So that looks good. I'm going to put another radial filter down here. What I want to do this time is I just want to bump up some of the highlights a little bit actually. So same thing, bring the exposure up, go to luminance. I just want it to affect the highlights. I'm also turning them on and off to see what that looks like. Cool. Now, I might touch the overall exposure a little bit at this point and just bring it up just a wee bit, plus 30. And now, like I said earlier, we want to get a nice bit of blue into the image as well, because we've got the warmth of the sun, the yellow of the sun. So a nice complementary color is obviously blue. So another radial filter here. And let's just bring that in from the side here. So all I really want to do is just to try and make the ocean look a little bit bluer. A little bit like that. Let's try a luminance mask. Let's see what it looks like on the different parts of the image. So let's just apply it like that. Applying it to the shadows, it means there's still going to be a little bit of yellow coming through in the highlights. Just make it blend a little bit nicer and look a little bit more natural. Now you can see the colour here is spilled over onto the beach and it's a little bit blue down here. So what we can do at the same time is come up to here, click on brush, and then hold Alt. And by holding Alt, that's turned the brush into an eraser. And we can just brush that off the beach. I might even go just to the edge of the water a little bit. Just like that. Nice, and now we can leave it like that, or else I did like this image when I'd sort of crushed the blacks a little bit and added a bit of blue into the shadows. So what we'll do is come to the tone curve over here, drop a couple of points into here, grab the bottom one, raise it up, bring it in a little bit. As you can see, it's just crushing those blacks, making them a little bit less black. Go to the blue channel, same thing, drop a couple of points in there, keep that curve level there, grab the bottom one, bring that up, just add a little bit of blues. Now if we turn that tone curve off, you can see that's how it was before and after. So that's those two images edited. I hope you enjoyed following along with that. Leave any comments below. Feel free to subscribe for any upcoming videos. I'm stuck at home for a month, so there's probably going to be a few more videos on the cards. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know. And follow my Instagram channel, links down below, and we'll see you next time.